Ask the GM's podcast, episode 14, Twilight Imperium, 4th edition. Hi, I'm Zach from Ask the GM's podcast. Been a board gamer for years and an RPG master for years, and I want to talk about great fun board games and adventures with you. Gonna hand it off to Pat.
Hey, it's me, Pat, the artist formerly known as Rob. Hey again, everybody. I'm glad to be back with us. We're gonna talk about one of my favorite sci-fi board games. It is massive, and I'm just glad to be here. Brian.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian, and I guess I'm your resident flight advisor today, as the flight is, and I'll hand it off to Lindsay.
Hi everybody, I'm Lindsay. I am a board game lover and lover of TTRPGs, and I'm really happy to be with you guys again. And I'm gonna toss it over to Rob.
Eyes. Slander.
Okay, we're going to pause right here, not because I want to slow us down any further. Ian just told me he's going to be on in like a few minutes, so we might as well just wait a couple minutes then.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that'll give me time to work on my entrance.
Or your shout out.
Yeah, that's it, yep.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Did you say you were a master of?
Yeah, I was thinking, are you gonna sing for your entrance? I was like,
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, it involves a top hat and a cane.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Putting on the Ritz.
Yeah, I was about to say my mind went to Young Frankenstein as well.
Well, Lindsay, I want you to know right now, before we get into later in the episode, I've actually kept my word every time I've played this game. I have not betrayed anyone directly.
Well, isn't that nice?
No, I have definitely convinced the table to fuck someone over, but I kept my word.
So you just convinced other people to do it. Okay. I mean, loopholes.
Yeah, if you
That's about to win. Fuck that guy. Okay, well, fuck him. Yeah, I think that's good.
Here I am with no fleet of ships, and I'm just like, well, I'm a plant, and everyone's just shitting on me.
To be fair, you like the shit because, I'll just use that later.
Yeah, we're fine. Turns out, don't anger a flock of birds because they'll just get you.
Yep. Birds don't fuck around.
No, they don't.
From the land or from the air.
Mm-mm. They're full of rage.
The chickens came to peck out my roots.
And then he took all of his rage out on random robots.
Yes.
I'm a transformer. Beep boop boop. Fuck you. Here's the Death Star up your ass.
I wanted to use it. I bought it. I wanted to use it.
You gotta use it, really.
So, Lindsay, in the game, you get War Suns, which is literally a Death Star.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
They can't directly blow up a planet, but you can kill everything. You can kill everything on it.
Okay, you just can't blow. It's not gonna blow up the entire planet.
There's a faction of plasma people that can make a system go supernova, though.
Yeah,
that is sick.
Yeah, they can blow up a planet or several planets.
I would say maybe more than one because it's a supernova.
Maybe that's what Brian needs to play next time. Just he starts with the War Sun and he just cruises around.
That would be amazing.
Oh, and they're the only race that can freely move into supernovas too.
Yep. Yeah, the guy, or hell, I guess I'll pull up a picture of them because they're another one I forgot to put on there.
Yeah, they got weird diving suits, but it makes sense because they're made of plasma.
Lindsay, have you ever seen Fifth Element?
Yes.
They remind me of those guys,
aliens,
the suits.
Yeah. The starting aliens, yeah. Not the weird ogre-looking things.
No, not those ones. They look like the guys that were putting out the 4 element rocks or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, you may not agree when you see them, but I don't know. That's what they look like to me.
I don't 100% agree, but I definitely could see where you would get that concept. It's still really.
If you look at the top half, but now that I'm looking at a full image of it, their bottom half is all little robot legs.
That's the embers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the embers right there.
Whoa.
They were the slaves of some space squids to make Death Stars, but then they revolted against their squid masters and said, F you, we're taking our Death Stars with us, and they did that.
Oh, they're the
Yep, they literally start with the War Sun because they stole it, because it's theirs.
Yep.
Hmm.
Oh, and Brian, one of their trade agreements is they can give out War Sun tech to somebody, so they don't have to research it. They can just be like, oh, I know how to make War Suns now.
Oh, okay.
And you mean one of their promissory notes?
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's one I've always played around with playing, but just never got around to it.
It's definitely. I definitely lost that game. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are on the internet say that they're one of the harder factions to win with, just like sort of the bugs are hard to win with. 'Cause it seems like many of the races that are geared towards war have a harder go of things.
Well, the thing with Embers is they start with that War Sun, and everyone's like immediately like peeing their pants, like I don't want any of that. But then you're like, well, they don't have a really good fleet, so if you send enough fighters, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you were playing the Embers, just like try and bully people, like, yo, I'm gonna come over there and shit on you unless you give me some trade goods. Just like, oh, okay. I don't know. Could be a tactic. I may try it one day.
I think maybe the bugs are a little better at that.
Probably. And RC was trying to wheel and deal with his dinosaurs real hard, so.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in trading with that thief.
Well, I didn't realize it, and he told me later. Apparently, like when him and John got in their big kerfuffle on RC's right side, that was RC's only planet that had any influence. He didn't have a single influence.
Oh, so he was hurting for influence real bad.
Oh.
Brian sounds like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I had plenty of influence.
I also like the fact that somehow all of my planets were hazardous. Like I had like one culture planet, and everything else was red.
Yeah.
Zach, what do you have? A shithole, another shithole, a third shithole. At least they make a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think me and Brian's slice of the galaxy was pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, we had a fuck ton of planets by us.
Yeah.
Good planets.
I don't know. I never went over there.
Well, I don't know. You did walk over to my spread and tell me my planets all sucked, though. So.
Well, no, that was play a card, and I played it on a pad, anyways.
Brian, we had a whole other world out there that neither of us ever grabbed. It was that one with the green tech prerequisite that I wanted, but I just never went to go get.
Yeah, that's the one you wanted. Yeah, that was the one you wanted.
Because initially, Brian's like, oh, you have a red tech planet over there that I kind of want. And I'm like, oh, you have a green tech planet over there I kind of want. But, like, I guess as soon as I started getting into Mechatol, I just forgot about it.
Yeah, you took the red one instead of the green one. I was not sure why, but you know,
It mainly because it was in my way on the way to Mechatol, so it was like a convenience thing.
Yeah. Plus, you would have been like you would have like cut me off because I guess I had the wormhole planet that I like could have gone.
Yeah, I feel like that wormhole planet is what kind of like kept you off of the main board for a little bit. You were trying to get out there and put some shit on it.
Yeah, get that because that planet had, I don't know if it was influence or resource, but it was like good and it gave me like shit. So
yeah, I had to have something good on it, I believe.
that's how I kept good. That's the only way I was acquiring trade goods was because that planet I could exhaust it at the end of my turn and just get 2 trade goods.
Oh, I know that planet. Okay.
Yeah, no, the planet was dope. That's the only way that I acquired like trade goods at all.
Should have told RC to stop that.
There just wasn't a lot of trading.
Well,
At least on our side of the table, there wasn't a lot of trading.
not a lot of neighbors, and that's the negative of not having the cats. I like the fact that the cats make a lot of trading. It makes a lot of more interaction in the game. I also like wheeling and dealing a whole bunch. Because she does have wares if you have coin.
Have you guys, have any of you played with the council?
That's the new faction. No, it's in
Oh,
the mail.
that's the codex. Okay,
Literally in the mail.
Yeah. Have you looked into them, Brian? Like, do you know what they do?
I'm on fandom right now, like looking at all of the factions.
Damn it, it's not a faction.
No, there's just a fuck ton of pop-ups on this website. Okay, there we go. I mean, the abilities seem kind of cool.
I do like that they basically take someone else's home system, which is a very cool way to do a faction that probably most people wouldn't be willing to print, like a planetary tile.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Ian Harper here, and today we're talking about Twilight Imperium 4, and it's a real barn burner because I love those 4X games.
Thank you, Ian. And as everyone has alluded, we are talking about the big space game Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. I generally consider it to be the space game. It's the game every space game wants to be this. It's King of the Mountain. Lindsay, would you like to read the definition of what 4X stands for?
Oh, absolutely. The definition is a 4X. It's a subgenre of strategy video game. The term is a loose acronym of explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate.
Yep. And in terms of video games, Civ is probably the most famous of all of them.
And my personal favorite as well.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There's even a Civ board game. I think the video game predates the board game, but that might be one of those iffy ones because they were out about the same time.
Yeah, the video game predates it just slightly. And I never got onto the board game. The board game never caught on for me.
Civilization. I think you mean Animal Crossing. Definitely a 4E game.
4X?
Yes, that's what I said. 4X.
Absolutely.
What was the extermination in Animal Crossing, Brian? I'm curious.
You're cutting down trees and you squash roaches.
What are you exploiting in Animal Crossing?
You go to like different islands to go get like resources. So you know, if you need wood and stones, you're laying that island barren and leaving.
He's making a strong case here, guys. It's happening.
Yep.
I know where the exploitation is in Animal Crossing. It's Tom Nook, that raccoon.
I was about to say
you
that.
drove him your soul.
Ouch.
It's those fucking nooks.
Wow.
You get
Lots of
crippling
hostility.
disease.
Lots of hostility there.
Now, isn't red version and blue version of Pokemon also a 4X game? Because I definitely exterminated a whole bunch of Zubats.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and the amount of like the Weebles, the little caterpillar guys, took them out.
Weedle. God. Anyway.
I got a little spot on my butt and my head. Pat, would you like to define for the podcast and our listeners, what is Twilight Imperium?
Oh boy. Twilight Imperium. All right, so it is your quintessential space opera. It has 20 or 20 plus maybe different alien species within this vast universe. For the fluff, there used to be an empire, the Lazax Empire, that had fallen into ruination within the universe, and it used to be the ruling power that kind of controlled how everything went. So whenever we're playing Twilight Imperium 4th edition, or just in that setting, is post the fall of that empire, where all these different races and factions and cultures are vying for power within the Imperium. The main planet that holds the seat of the Empire is called Mechatol Rex. And you have all sorts of different kinds of factions, be it a AI program that's become hateful towards all life and wants to assimilate the rest of the galaxy. You have space cats that are a merchant race of 7-foot tall cats that'll beat you up, and everybody knows everybody. Or you could be peace turtles that are all about slamming down peace accords and making new laws. Or you have your run-of-the-mill humans as well, the Federation of Soul. Zach, is there anything else you would like to add about the general fluff of Twilight Imperium, or should we talk about that plastic?
No, we should move to dat plastic. Brian, you want to talk about the massive amount of plastic you just get as an individual player?
Yeah, I think I started with like you get a box, like, and it's how do I describe it? It's like the size of it's like half of an iPad full of.
I was going to say I basically bought like a pencil storage box for the storage for each color.
Yeah, like, and you store it very well, so I appreciate that. But it's just full of plastic. I think I started with like 8 to 10 total units, and I had stuff everywhere. There's a lot of it. It's fun.
Yep, and you get a variety of plastics. It's not just ground forces, it's mechs, it's giant Death Star-like units, it's giant Star Destroyer-like units, it's carriers, it's cruisers, battleships. It's basically like most of what you think in Star Wars, but a little more.
And infantry, because not everything is in space. Sometimes you fight on the world.
And PDS, because PDSs are pretty dope.
Yep, your planetary defense system and cannon.
And just so our audience realizes the quantity we have is the Twilight Imperium box is probably, I'd say, a bit bigger than a briefcase, and I'd say about 2 briefcases stacked on top of each other. So it is hefty. And whenever we spread it all out on the table, what is the dimensions of that table we were using? Like a 6 foot by 10 foot table to spread out, and still people were cramped.
That's about right, 6x10. And the box size is widely called from Fantasy Flight Games the coffin size box.
Yeah, so it is heavy, as is the game is heavy, but don't let that daunt you.
Okay, another big point of the game is this is not a, hey, let's just play TI4, which is what the nickname of the game or an acronym. This is a commitment game. This is like Game of Thrones. This is like Dune. This is the game you are playing. You will set aside a day to play this game. And generally, most people want to play 6 because the galaxy is hexagons. All the planets are hexagons. So you want to have all 6 players there. So it's a good game, but you have to commit. Like you're going to be there 4 or 5 hours. What is everyone's thoughts on that?
Yeah, you definitely want to schedule it and get an agreed upon time and an agreed upon meeting place. And as Pat was saying, you need to make sure you have a table that can support that, and you need to have a space that can support the size. Because just to go back to that, that's the first most obvious thing about this game when you unbox it is we're going to need a large space to play this. I recommend planning your meals. Maybe you're probably going to have 2 meals while you play this game. Might want to have that prepped out and ready to go. But yeah, you definitely need to commit some serious time to this and avoid bailing if at all possible.
It's a marathon for sure. Where Seven
Absolutely.
Wonders is a sprint, this is a marathon.
Yeah, I think the fastest I've ever played it is 3.5 hours.
The 2 times that I played it, it was both 4 hours, and I think one time I had to leave because it was just running too long. But yeah, it easily goes into 4 hours or more.
Now, it can be trimmed, if you have a table full of people that are well versed, they know the motions, they know their strategies, like you can, chew it down more. But don't let it be daunting. It's not, 5 hours or 6 hours of strenuous, debating and head scratching. There are some debates, but it is very entertaining.
Oh no, and to that point, Pat, it's very it's paced in a very good way so that to your point, you're not under the gun, it's not stressful at all. There is going to be some downtime, so you've got time to chill out and chat while things are going on, and it's not you're not having to be totally tuned in the entire time. I mean, it's good. You want to pay attention, but you don't have to be on like the entire time you're there.
Yeah, and I will say that the second time was considerably easier. Like, knowing how the game was played, a lot less anxiety playing it the second time.
Well, not only that, like it seems like the game is more intimidating than it actually is. The actual play is super easy. You basically have 3 to 4 options on a turn. And a lot of them are very clear, like, this isn't a good move to make right now, so I'm going to save that option for later.
Yeah, you can boil it down to, I'm going to move guys over here to, like, either fight or posture them to fight or defend a border, or I'm going to go over here and build some stuff. The actions themselves are simplicity. The complexity comes in, your decisions that you make.
Okay, well, to get into starting the game further, Pat, would you like to start discussing the 3 phases of play?
Okay, I'm definitely going to mess them up. But is it the strategy phase, agenda phase, and what's the other phase I'm missing?
So I believe it's strategy phase, action phase, resolution phase, and the agenda is like a sub phase of that.
Okay, so within the strategy phase is when you're collecting your thoughts, what you're about to do before the round. There are 7 strategy cards, is that right, Zach?
8.
8 strategy cards. And what these vary from, 1, they determine your initiative order within the round, so that is important in itself. but it's kind of an extra option, a boon that you can get, and you can get it just for yourself. But there are, subsets of that where other people can benefit off of what you pick. So there's many layers to that. But once
it's kind of like if you ever play like a drafting game or like a certain type of card games where like you get to take the major action, but everyone else can kind of follow your action as like a side.
Yeah, so you can't bogart all the abilities of the strategy card. Other people do participate, but they can be such things as building more buildings in your area, or hey, I dictate, who gets trade goods, and I'm going to be, the head of the merchants this time. Or one's warfare, where you can move your ships really quickly and aggressively onto somebody, potentially fight with it. Or it could simply be, oh, I want more cards, or what is diplomacy? You can select a system and be like, oh, nobody can fight here. We're gonna have peace here. So those are kind of the varying flavors of the different strategy cards you can get. Then we go to the action phase, and this is where we're going to spend the majority of our playtime in. And this is the one where it's like, oh, you activate a system, you move your ships in there, you build some stuff in there. That's the major moving of the pieces within the board. And then the final phase is whenever we get to clean up, reset everything, refresh all of our planets. And then once somebody activates Mechatol Rex, the big important planet at the center of the universe, then we get into the agenda phase. And that's where we get into all the politics and voting. Some of these agendas could be as much as like, there's a tax on fighter ships. So now instead of paying $1 for 2 fighters, you have to pay $1 for 1 fighter. Or, hey, let's destroy half of all the dreadnoughts, and some player has a lot of dreadnought ships, and they're like, no, we don't want that to happen. So that's just a basic breakdown of the different phases.
Yep, that's a pretty good breakdown, Pat. And you are right. The importance of the first phase is like whatever role you pick of the 8, like really changes your turn. And it's usually the phase where people spend the most time before they start taking actions, is they're strongly consider like, what do I pick?
Yeah, what do I need to do for this whole round?
For me, this is the most challenging part of the game, is figuring out which role to take right at the beginning. This is always the bit that challenges me the most, for sure. This is where the biggest piece of strategy, this is like you guys were saying, this is the foundation of your strategy for that turn. And it can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing. So this is a tough part for me usually.
And just a pointer about this phase, and just kind of about this game in general. It is a massive game. We were talking about a 6-foot by 10-foot table that we were playing on, and that wasn't even enough room. So oftentimes you'll find yourself way on the other side of the table from these strategy cards. And say you're a new player, you don't know exactly what every strategy card does. Or over there, and I'll talk about the main objectives, your main goals. They'll be on the other side of the table, and you can't see them. So something I've been doing recently, and I would suggest to other new players, people that want to try this out, is take a photo of the different strategies, or look up online what the different strategy cards are, or take a piece of paper and pencil and write down what they are. And same thing with objectives, so rather than having to get up and walk to the other side of the table to look at it, because how huge this thing is, you just have a quick reference in front of you, so you can kind of formulate your game plan without having to, interrupt or slow down play.
Well, especially because like if you have the role, you have the card in front of you, but that doesn't help you like remember what everyone else's does.
Yeah.
And going back to like picking, sometimes you don't get a good choice. Like you have a plan of what you're trying to accomplish, and there's a law saying, oh, if you research tech, you have to blow up a ship. So nobody really wants to pick tech, even though you're the. I remember being like the last player, and I had the choice between, I think, there's 3 that I don't want any of these, and they kind of have to pivot at that point too. So it's It's all about game flow.
Well, in addition to that, because if we usually play with 6, there's 8 options. The 2 options that aren't picked, a trade good, which is basically a free dollar, is placed on them. So eventually, the ones that aren't picked will get picked just for the free money.
Pat, I liked your idea about taking a picture of the roll cards and the objectives because I'll go ahead and say right from the very beginning, the first time I played it, and you guys know I have really bad eyesight. I can't really see, and it is a very big board. And admittedly, full transparency here. If I'm at one end of the board, I can't see the other end with very much detail. So I did really poorly my first game because I was a little bit apprehensive to go look at the cards as much as I needed to because I really needed to familiarize myself with those, and I was somewhat reluctant to do so. So I really like that idea, and I totally recommend that. I wish I had done that the first time I played.
Yeah, if you'll look in our Discord chat, me and Brian were sitting by one another this last time, and Brian, I believe, was asking me some questions about the strategy cards, and I was just like, "Hey, man, look in the Discord. I put them in there for us so we can have those to reference."
Yes, and I didn't say that right away, and I wanted to because I did want to thank you because that helped so much. Like it was, one page. It had all 8, so I knew exactly. That wasn't a question to me, and it was super useful. So thanks, Pat. I appreciate the assistance.
Very clutch.
I mean, now I know what they do, but whenever I was first getting into TI, I was just like, oh god.
And for our people that are like outside looking in, Rob or Lindsay, any questions or comments so far?
Strategy cards, so the strategies stay the same the entire game, correct?
Yeah, there's 8, and basically there's a speaker that basically who's ever like the head of government. He gets first pick of the 8. Whatever one you pick is your turn order. So if you pick 1, you go first. You pick 8, you go last. And it gives you like a roll for the round.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of your opponents can sometimes opt in to take a lesser version of the roll.
Oh, okay.
And also, Lindsay, to be clear here, the rolls change every turn. You pick a new one every turn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed to get the same one.
And for anybody listening, who gets the speaker token is actually fairly important because they're the first one to pick their strategy card, so they're not inhibited by anybody else. They can get exactly what they need when they need it. But
So
what you'll find as far as like a balancing thing, there's a card called politics, which basically what it does is you can assign who the speaker is for the next round and get a few like little action cards, little something extra. But usually that's one of the ones that is last picked or towards the end. So that way whoever gets first pick is can flip around the table, because if you let it just stay on one side of the table for the rest of the game, you're going to very much cripple yourself as far as what you're able to do. Because like Brian was saying, hey, it gets around to you and you got 3 choices and all of them suck. Like, well, that's how it is sometimes. Grab that politics strategy token and get speaker for yourself. Or for your neighbor. You can get some goods out of your neighbor, maybe, if you talk into giving it to him.
Yeah, one of the best strategies is you take politics and you sell it to the person to your right, because that person's last.
Cool.
Yeah, like Lindsay, if I took politics and theoretically I could assign it to me and you're to my right, theoretically if I keep speaker out of that, you're the last person to pick. So you're the person I'm going to make the best deal to.
Yeah. Neat.
Zach has implemented that strategy quite a bit.
I bet he has.
Maybe I should sit to his
strategy.
Go, Lindsay.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that's what begins everything, correct? That begins your round.
Yeah, like
it's like the strategy bit.
Yep. Whatever role you pick is your turn order. So basically it tells you I will act in this order. If I'm 8, I always go last the round.
Got it.
And one of your actions during your turn is you can move, or you can use your you can use the ability basically, and people will for example, Pat needed money to use, or you needed a token to be able to use technology because you have to trade some when you as the player, when I'm using technology, the bottom ability on the card allows your opponents to also take part in that at a higher cost. So Pat was like, "Hey, I need $2 more to be able to, also participate. Can you wait one turn to do it?" So I don't remember what we exchanged for that, but it's very small politics and you don't think about it, but it's impactful.
Yeah, the order of operations definitely matters, and the cool thing about the game is there's all sorts of things you can trade. You can trade commodities, you can trade goods. There's these things we haven't talked about yet called promissory notes, where they could be a ceasefire, where it's like, oh, you attack me, I'll play this promissory note you gave me that says ceasefire, you're not attacking me, get out of my system. Or it could be as powerful as support for the throne, where it's like, oh, here's one victory point, I want you to fluff-wise win the game, but it's kind of a hardcore handshake agreement, like we will not kill each other, we give each other a victory point.
Because if you attack the person who gives you the point, you lose the point.
Yeah, so there's many different things you can trade. I believe in this instance, Brian's referring to, I had this agent that was allowing me to upgrade any ship on the board for free, and I was like, oh, Brian, I need you to do this in this order for me, buddy, but I'll give you a free ship upgrade if you want to do that deal. So many handshakes, many little minor deals being made between all the players all around the board, so talking to each other and cutting deals is another big factor of this game that is one of those things that makes it very enjoyable.
That's
There's
fun.
a lot of table talk,
That's
and
fun.
it's cool because, like, I know Zach was over there, like, I think you were sitting next to RC, and you guys were talking constantly. I didn't know what you guys were talking about most of the time, but it was just as much as Pat and I were talking.
We said, fuck those birds.
Suck my balls.
And another important part about your roll, Lindsay, is you cannot pass until you do your roll. So that like changes it, makes it a game of, do I wait everyone else out till they use their roll and pass and use mine, or do I use it immediately when they're not ready for it? Because that can really like jam someone up real bad. Because like you're not guaranteed to do the bottom of everyone else's roll. Like you can't always follow their action. Like you might not have the resources or the actual like player token to do it.
Gotcha.
For the next tiny topic, we're going to talk about upper level play versus standard play. This is just more of like me and Pat playing several games versus a new player. It doesn't mean we have a distinct advantage. It's just like we're aware of like tricks and stratagems a new player wouldn't be aware of.
Yeah, there's constantly little things that I see Zach doing it because Zach has a fair few wins on TI, just like I have a fair few on Dune. And so me and Zach will, post game talk to each other about like, oh man, there was this, like, just as we were mentioning before, he passes the speaker token to his right to get a favor to the person from the right, and it all works out for him. So learning how to make good trades, for instance, our last game, that little upgrade power I just mentioned, I was selling that for a lot around the table, and it didn't cost me anything to give to other people, and that was just that little, hey, here's 2 nickels, can you do me this favor? And we from our level play, me and Zach definitely are not upper level players or competitive players, in a higher echelon kind of sense. But there's definitely deep strategies within this game that once you get a handful of games under your belt, you'll start chasing those and finding new ones out for yourself. So that's a lot to crunch on, which makes it very fun.
Yeah, because like a part of the game we didn't talk about is during setup, there's an initial draft of powers, and maybe you get your power, maybe you don't. And that's optional. But another part is you draft the galaxy. Everyone gets a handful of tiles, and you guys get to secretly arrange what the galaxy is going to be like. And there's a lot of head play right there, because like that might be an empty system, that might be a supernova, And if you put that supernova in the wrong spot for someone, you might force them to go to the left or right. So you might force them into conflict with their neighbors.
Because Zach is talking about something that exactly happened to him, and he being forced into your neighbors is horrible out of the gate. Like, that is not a place you want to be.
I was going to say the one of my favorite parts about this game is the beginning and drafting the map. Like, the galaxy map that's just a lot of fun. That's one of the things I have the most fun doing. I know that sounds lame, but like that's a piece of the game I really enjoy.
No, it is the most important part of the game. That is not an argument. That is the most important part of the game.
Oh, and not even just from a strategic standpoint, just from a standpoint of enjoying the game and just having joy while playing it. It's just a lot of fun doing that part.
And it is right out the gate because there are things that just are kind of entertaining. Like this last game, Zach had a bunch of space dinosaurs to his right that are very aggressive. You don't want to be neighbors with these space dinosaurs. So essentially, there was almost a line of red, potentially bad tiles between him and the dinosaurs, kind of blocking him off, which was funny to see. And other things that could be, revealed by these tiles is, say, I'm just going to pick on RC because he was the dinosaurs. He had a wormhole right beside him, and then somebody across the board had the opposite wormhole, and they're like, oh no, terrible space dinosaurs that want to eat me can pop up right here on my front doorstep. So I might want to, put some people there to kind of stop that from happening. So it's just so fun out of the gate.
I believe, Pat, that's how I lost my first time that I played. I got knocked out really early because there was a wormhole. I think it was I can't remember who we were playing with. It might have been Dave, maybe. But
Oh, Dave.
yeah, and it might have been, I can't remember, but there was a wormhole next to his home planet and the matching wormhole next to mine, and he just snuck right in there while I was off. In TI4, I have a tendency to go off and explore too much and not go after objectives. I just kind of wander off. And yeah, he just took my system out while my dudes were out on a 5-year mission of exploration.
Yeah. Well, exploring isn't bad because in TI4, the Prophecy of Kings expansion that we've been playing with, you're really kind of rewarded for exploring as well because you can go out and get these space relics that do potentially crazy things like blowing up a system or something like that. And then even in the hazardous tiles or the voids of space, there's these technology you can get called dark energy tap, where you go and you look in there, and that's any potential relic and has higher levels of goodies. So being out exploring wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but maybe next time if he has wormhole to somebody else's wormhole, you might plan for that contingency.
Going back to the tile placement, I believe when we started, it was Zach had you had basically a straight to Mechatol, and that's about it because RC was taking up a decent amount of space already, and you had going from your home system, there was 2 reds. I believe I placed one of those. I think it was an empty space though. I think it was just nothing there.
All I know is you guys tried to hate draft me because I win all the time, and it didn't hurt me. It fucked over RC. It fucked him so bad.
I put a red tile directly in front of my home system,
and I feel like I feel like this was the second game I played. This is sounding really familiar.
No, this is the most recent game. RC was to my right, and I was last in the draft, which means I got 2 picks. So I basically just seeded my own little my own section. Fine. RC basically got all the splashback.
But I will say, Zach, I hate to hear that they were going after you like that.
I mean, they just think I've won this game so many times, and I don't think that's the case.
Zach has won every single time I've played.
I put that really dangerous red empty space tile right near you, Zach. I knew it was going to mess up your day.
He sounded so pleased to say that too. Like he got a lot of joy from that.
Yeah, there was some mirth in there.
Oh no, I have had the supernova actively put right by me multiple times.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as all that, right, Zach? You had no supernovas near you.
Yep. Also, Pat has learned his lesson. He's watched me score 4 points in the single turn, and this is a 1st to 10 game. So that quickly became, oh no, Zach is 40% of the way there now.
All I have to say is that the strategy card number 8, which is Imperial, don't sleep on that. That's all I can say.
It helps you win games.
Explain.
So 8,
or go ahead, Zach.
8, if you pick the roll, you have to go last on the turn. Okay. It's worth it because of what it does. If you're not the player that has 8, you can spend a token from your pool and you can draw a secret objective card. You can only ever have 3 secret objectives total, 3 at all, scored or unscored. So getting more of those is a big deal. But if you're the player who took 8, you can score a victory point if you have the Center Planet Mechlatal Rex, or you can score a publicly face-up objective that hasn't been scored yet by you. So you can score ahead of time.
Yeah, you can accelerate all your scoring and get extra things to score on.
Oh, so you can kind of come from behind pretty quickly.
Yeah, or jettison out front real quickly. I mean, it's all about acceleration, and I've seen many a time where because Zach seemed sometimes, or I'd say maybe about 60% of the time, kind of runs like a skeleton kind of fleet bare minimum because he. Zach, I'm gonna pick on you here a little bit, but like he'll send out a lone ship over here that has one job to do. Then they do their job, and that ship's dead to him effectively.
I definitely run
and score.
I run my fleet, and how I play this game like I'm an executive at a company. It is what gets me the point the fastest. I don't care about anything else. Oh, that ship blew up. It got me a victory point before it blew up. I don't care.
Meanwhile, the rest of us at the table are like, yeah, I got 2 war sons and this big armada. And Zach's like, yeah, that's cool. I just won, though.
So pretty, but I won.
No, one of the last games of the 3rd edition we played is Pat is getting crap from one of our Gregs the whole game. And they both run at each other. And I'm just like, hey, guys, I'm about to win. Screw you. It's like, okay, I'm still just winning. But you guys keep this fight up.
It's amazing.
And
yeah, I don't know why this Greg called me out at the very beginning of the game. He's like, and I think he was on the other side of the universe or something.
Yes, literally across the hex.
And he's like, Pat, I'm gonna come kill you. And I'm just like, okay. So I build up this whole big fleet, and then I just drive it down his throat. And Zach's like, about to win, guys. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm winning over here. I'm having my best life.
Well, no, and what's funny about that scenario is that same scenario has happened multiple times in different games. Like Zach's about to win, and it's 2 people that aren't about to win squabbling and ignoring him.
No, there was definitely a point where I was contemplating what I was going to do, and I saw like a space. I was like looking at a specific hex, and I swear Zach saw me look at it because
he's paying attention. Because he's paying attention,
right? And he's like, "Oh no, you don't want to go there." And I should have definitely gone and like impacted his plans when I had the opportunity, because I was already done obliterating Pat's armada.
This is not a game where I'll claim I'm going to win until I've already like sewed it up in a bag. So this last game, I'm going to win. Are you sure? It's like I have 11 points out of 10. You guys already lost.
Yeah.
I want to go there.
Brian was too busy eating his salad. By the way, I was playing a plant race, so.
No,
now,
we did a good job of trading victory points though, because you got the planet, but then I destroyed your fleet with my flagship. So we basically traded victory points at that point.
Yep.
And speaking of deals, Pat, do you want to talk about how Tim like roasted you out of existence?
Well, so before, okay, well, I'll say this little nugget, and then I believe we should carry on in our categories. But so I was playing the Za Kingdom, the turtles. I like the peace turtles. Yeah, I love the space turtles. They're, I'd say, probably like in a medium tier kind of race. But the turtles are, guess what? They're very defensive. They really are all about their borders. And I believe Tim was the Necrovirus, the really killy. They kind of look like the machines from the third Matrix. Yeah. But they're all about killing sentient life, and they also will research all your technologies by killing you. So I had this really nasty neighbor, and I was, a little peace turtle over there. And I had many opportunities to shoot these PDS cannons because not only were the turtles' PDSs better, my flagship was also able to shoot in neighboring systems. And so I had multiple opportunities to shoot this little necrovirus crawling through my slice of space. But Tim, was bending my ear, whispering sweet nothings in there. And so I was just like, yeah, you get a free pass. And then, he just murders the crap out of me like in one real quick sweep. And I think that is the moment whenever I said, never again will I be a, free pass kind of turtle. I think my next iteration of turtle gameplay is if you come to near my borders, I'm just going to shoot you regardless.
Never again.
Get off my property!
Never again will I be a free pass kind of turtle.
And just
get off my porch kind of turtle.
Just to be clear
Get
here,
off my lawn.
Just to be clear here for the listeners out there, that's what Pat is describing as classic Tim.
Oh no, super aggressive, will like roast you immediately. He will never forgive the fact that I called out that he was going to win that round. So I banded the entire table against him. They blew him out of the water, and then like after the dust settled, it's like, oh, I can win right now, and I just like stole the victory from him right there.
But that being said, Tim, if you're listening, I still love you, buddy. I just don't trust you.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah, mad respect. Okay,
so we're gonna swap over to races. If everyone who's played a couple races want to read or mention their two favorites, that'll work. And then if any others come up, we can talk about that. I'm going to start. My two are the Space Snakes. I always forget their name. They have the amazing ability of always going 0 in initiative. And it's a big deal. You can pick any of those roll cards and your number becomes 0. You're always first every round. And they also get to like psychically retreat from combat. So like if they think they're going to lose, they can just like, hey, I'm leaving.
They could slither on out of there.
Yeah. And for their name, they're the Nalu, and their big thing is prescience, so they always have that ahead, kind of tactic, hence why their initiatives always 0. And Zach, do you want me to go a little bit more in depth on them?
Go for it.
Okay. So big things with the Nalu is they can kind of dictate when they're going to fight, which kind of leans into their little prescience kind of abilities. And basically, whenever somebody activates your system, i.e. coming in to attack you, they can use a token from their strategy pool to be like, oh, well, my fleet's going over to this other system, and they bail out of the system before they ever get attacked. So that's a big move that they can do. And other thing that is unique to them is they have some of the best fighter ships, which are just the smallest spaceship you can get, but they kind of have a swarm mentality and can kind of just overwhelm you with the number of fighters. So that's big trademarks of the Nalu.
Yep, that's very good, Pat. And like just to cover, like that's how crazy some of the powers can get. The fact that you're always first every turn is massive. My next one are the Hakan, also called the Space Cats. They focus on trade. You are not bound by the borders. Everyone else, when they have to trade, has to be an immediate neighbor with someone. You can trade with every player as soon as the game starts. I love wheeling and dealing, so you can do it immediately. Also, if someone picks trade, they can't like punish you. You can always have your commodity, so you're wheeling and dealing the whole game.
Like the Ferengi.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Or if anybody plays Skyrim, the Khajiit, the cat people, they're invaders in the Elder Scrolls series, very similar.
Yeah.
Exactly, they're space Khajiit basically.
It's real fun if you want to have like a load of cash the whole game.
Yeah, and there are some objectives where it's just like, hey, pay this much cash and you get these many points, which for them is anything. And also trade goods, they can be influence as well as resources. So not only can you buy spaceships and, units with it, you can also buy votes and whatnot with trade goods as well. So it's a very versatile currency, which could make them a very versatile faction. Brian, do you want to go ahead and talk about your birds?
Yeah, the Argent Flight. I probably don't know as much as Pat does, but from my understanding that they're kind of a once slave race that broke off and does their own thing. They're very strong as far as you get to start with 2 techs, 2 out of 3, and very useful to start with because you can research if you get to pick your tech option your first turn, you can research and double up and they have a really good cruiser. Um, yeah, that they're fun. I I was in contention for most of the game. I know I started out really quick. Pat said it multiple times to me. He's like, you're at, you know, I think I had 2 victory points by the end of round 2. I was, I was keeping up pace.
Yeah. Brian's early game was very on point for that faction that he was playing. And just a correction, it's not cruiser that they care about, it's the destroyers. And the biggest, yeah, you're all right, buddy. And the biggest thing about that faction is their destroyers are probably one of the best units per cost in the game. And the big thing about it is destroyers are meant to be anti-fight, or they're meant to fight swarms of fighters, like the Nalu and the Ardent Flight. They would be, prime rivals, snakes and birds hating each other. Guess what? But the fact that the destroyers anti-fighter barrage normally only hits fighters, but the Ardent Flight's destroyers, their anti-fighter barrage, once they kill all your fighters, any excess damage that they do will roll over to any of your ships with sustained damage, which is the best ships in the whole game. So as far as races go, the Ardent Flight are very defensible combat tactician kind of fighters, and they're really good at some warfare, because I was trying to drive into Brian's space and I found out it was a bad idea real quick.
Yeah, I had the upgraded planetary defense systems, and I believe my hero, that's the middle guy, right?
No, your commander.
The commander. The commander allows you to add 1 die to every skill roll for a power that you have.
Abilities.
So like my planetary defense system allowed me to fire from adjacent hexes, and I had 2. So when he showed up, there was I think 3 different planetary defense systems that were just bombarding your fleet to begin with.
Yeah, and as far as fluff for the Ardent Flight, as Brian said, they were kind of a fledgling kind of race, and they were under the yoke of the Mahat gene sorcerers, and they just kind of broke out from them and kind of were getting out into the galaxy. But not only are they a defensive kind of tactical race, but they also have something that they can do in the agenda phase, where they cast an additional number of votes equal to the number of other players. So they're not just primarily combat. They do have a little bit of stuff to do in the agenda phase.
Yeah, that was nice having, I feel like every time I voted with at least 10 votes, because we had 6 players, and I had plenty of planets that had influence, so it was easy to spend it.
They also look rad as fuck, I'm just saying. I'm looking at the picture now.
Oh yeah.
And their flagship, which this is where it kind of confused me. Their flagship's name is Quetzalcoatl, which is like an Aztec veiled serpent deity, which I found was interesting that their flagship was named after a snake.
A snake.
Well, it's also a famous bird in South America, or Quetzals.
It's also a big dinosaur, winged dinosaur as well.
Interesting.
Ian, is there any races that you remember playing that you enjoy?
There actually is one. And Zach, I don't know if you remember, I might have played the same race twice, the 2 times that I played the game. I like that race that starts with their flagship. I think it's the Space Nomads. Is that right?
Nomads, yeah.
Nomad, yeah.
Yeah, I like those guys because and when I go trolling around in the galaxy just looking for stuff, I feel safe in my capital ship, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I'll do a little rundown on the Nomad for you, Ian.
Do it,
As
man.
far as the flow, the Nomad, he's kind of a shadow broker in the Twilight Imperium universe. He always seems to show up at the right place at the right time in pivotal events within the universe. And what the Shadow Broker is, he has this cabal of agents that are from all different races. I believe he has a Ghost of Creus, a Hakan, a human, and somebody else within his retinue of agents that he has. And he has a lot of political pull, and he can also have like a whole lot of money at any given time. He's kind of a jack of all trades, and they reflect that on the tabletop. Oh, also, they think he's a time traveler as well, or has time related tech.
Oh, sold. I love this race even more
That is
now.
so cool.
Yeah.
I
So-
love that.
I'm such a sucker for time travel.
He might be like a Doctor Who of TI. Anyways, so how they reflect that on the table is he has his flagship right out the gate, which was what Ian was referencing, and that's his limo, that's his ride, that's his jam. He's showing up wherever, whenever around the galaxy in that ride.
It's basically the Starship Enterprise, dude. When the last time I played with the Nomad, I was just cruising around like it was the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah. So whenever he was one of the races that came out of the Prophecy of Kings expansion, which introduces a few different components within the game. But whereas every other race has one agent, the Nomad has 3, and one of your agents gets you money, another one of your agents, anytime there's a round of combat that you don't like and it's not in your favor, you can be like, nope, everybody reroll, and another agent is able to have troops move tactically around the board, and these are things you can sell to people as well. His commander allows you to get your flagship back for free, so the Nomad really cares about his super awesome dope ride to the point where he can get it back for free should he ever lose it. Maybe a little bit of time sorcery is involved there. And the other thing about the Nomad faction, wherever he has a mech, you can treat the system adjacent, or you can treat the mech is at the adjacent to where the flagship is. So, for instance, say you have a mech on a planet, way out from where your flagship is. You activate a system beside it. Bam, your flagship teleports from one side of the board all the way to another side of the board, which people weren't necessarily counting on. So that's how that all kind of translates to his fluff.
So it's like a time travel warp. He can warp to his mech.
Yeah, he can go to where he needs to be when he needs to be there.
Man, you had me at Shadow Broker. As someone who loves Mass Effect, you had me
Yeah.
at Shadow Broker.
That's
so cool.
Yes.
Lindsay, that's what I was thinking about was Mass Effect when he was talking about that. This is basically a cross between somebody who's got like the most tricked out Starship Enterprise and the dude from Mass Effect.
Dude. Cool.
Yep. Cool. Let's see. All right, so Ian's laid down. Lindsay, unfortunately, hasn't played yet. We'll get her there eventually. She might want to play the Nomad.
I kind of want to play Nomad right now.
He's the next one I want to play. I haven't played him yet, but he's definitely high up on my list.
I want to play the bug race next. The bug race is the one I want to play next.
Oh, you want to go on hard mode? Zach, what 2 races do you think I should talk about for mine? Because I mean, all honesty, all of them are really cool.
I think Lindsay had a lead in, but we can do your 2 races next too.
Oh, what was Lindsay's lead in?
I was just gonna ask. Can I ask about a race? Because you guys sent a bunch of photos.
Sure.
Who are this lion race? It looks like.
Oh, that's the Hakan. Those are the cat people.
Gotcha.
Those are the wheelie dealy trade people.
Gotcha. And then you guys were talking about the T-Rex people.
I'm not well versed in their lore.
The space dinosaurs. Was that the space dinosaurs?
Angry space dinosaurs. I know they live in black holes. You get to steal ships from people, and if you have your flagship out and people attack you, anything that dies they suck up, including their own stuff. So they can just they can just explode like a whole bunch of units on the board.
Yeah, effectively on table, they have the highest production of anybody.
They live in black holes. That's
Yeah,
insane.
and you can set little black holes out too,
Oh wait, so they can set black holes in
like
different places?
like in systems they have. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
As
Ian,
far as, or go ahead, Zach.
why Pat was mentioning the bugs are hard mode. They have no tech, but they do have the amazing ability of all their rolls are +1.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was the first time we played TI4. I think Tim was the bug people and just trounced like crazy.
Well, I mean, I'll talk about them for a little bit. The bugs we're referencing, they're called the Sardak Nor. And, because this is a big space opera.
Whoa. Sir, they live on Clondathu.
They live on. Well, that's where I was going with this. There's a little bit of reference to a lot of sci-fi in this game, and as Zach said, they're from Clondathu, which, if anybody knows, is from Starship Troopers, and they're essentially the bug world of Starship Troopers.
Yep.
And they like violence. But we poo-poo on them a little bit because they're, I think, the only race that starts with no technology.
Yeah, they have no tech at all, not a single one.
And the reason that is, I mean, it's bad in multiple layers, but the reason me and Zach like poo-poo on them quite a bit, and a lot of the online community does, is a lot of the objectives are geared towards you having techs of multiple types or kinds. And if you already start with nothing where somebody else is starting with 2 of something and they're really hard to get, you're already starting the game on hard mode. So that is why we poo-poo the bugs.
Gotcha. What about the little goblin guys, Zach?
That's who I just won as the Goblin guys. They're the spy race. You get to spy. You have the amazing ability of you have no maximum hand size of action cards. And whenever you draw one, you draw an additional one, but have to discard one. And as a special action on your turn, you just get to discard one and pass for a round. So you can literally just wait everyone out.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
I guess I think I'm going to talk about maybe 2 races.
Go for it.
Of kind of, I guess I'll talk about varying types. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called the Mintak Coalition. What their shtick is, what their fluff is. They were all prisoners of the previous Lazak Empire, and whenever that crumbled, hey, guess what? No more prison. So they all banded together and made this Mintak Coalition. So they are pulled from every single race, and being prior prisoners, they're all about, skullduggery and being rogues and ne'er-do-wells and being pirates, space pirates.
That is incorrect, sir. They're from Space Australia.
They're Space Australians.
I
sure.
was going to make an Australia joke, but you beat me to it.
I mean, they are from a penal colony world, so.
Gotcha.
But that being said, how that translates to the board is, don't quote me, I don't have the names of these abilities in front of me, but they have one ability to where if any of your neighbors gain more than 3 trade goods via or if they gain any trade goods and they have 3 or more from any transaction. So this is something I learned the other day, Zach. A transaction could be a promissory note, trade goods, commodities.
It's any wheel and dealing.
In any deal that you make, they can go over they can reach over to your little trade goods pile and get their grubby hands on one. And by neighbor, it's not necessarily who are sitting to the left or right of you, it's who you have a unit near. So they have these fast little cruisers that are specific to them as far as like the technology of these cruisers. And so they're able to shoot them out, far into the universe to get everybody to, won't you be my neighbor? And dig their greedy little paws into everybody's trade goods. The other part is their cruisers have an ambush ability to where they can fire first and then go into combat. So they're all about quick and fast and greedy. And I think they have some interesting tech to where, and this one's a big one, anytime you spend a trade good, it's worth 2 trade goods. So maybe it's a counterfeiting ring they have, and they just double up their trade goods. I'm not sure as far as the fluff of
Yeah,
that,
that's what
but
I was thinking.
Don't they have a tech? Don't they have a tech where if they blow something up, they can make it?
oh, if one of their things blows up, they get trade goods as well. Because I guess they would have salvagers or something.
No, I
But-
thought they had a tech like if you blew up a war sun, you could make a war sun.
No, not that I know of. Not that I know of. I know they have double up and stealing and ambush.
I'm picturing
I
these
could be
guys.
wrong.
I'm picturing these guys making fake space Nikes.
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I've just recently got into Twilight Imperium books, and this first book that I'm reading is based around a Mintak Coalition cruiser and its crew, which has been fun because, as I said, the Coalition is a little bit of everybody, so I'm able to see, what a lot of these species are like. Let's see. The other race, so those are like thieving mercs, and they were fun. Another race I'll talk about is another one of the big ones, like probably original races, and one where I got a win with. They were called the Barony of Letnev. Now, as far as fluff for these guys, they come from a world where the sun was either too much for their planet or scorching the surface, so they were subterranean dwellers, and so they have an affinity for the dark. They hate the light, so on and so forth. As far as like a translation for us, they're space elves. They favor the drow quite a bit if you're with D&D. But as far as how the barony is they are all about bureaucracy, all about doing things to the letter. In this book recently, a human might enjoy a sunny day on the beach, but for enjoyment for a Letnev would be like, hey, let's do our taxes, and they'd be like, yes, this is the best.
Pat, if I
like that.
recall, one of their racial abilities is they have always +2 to their fleet size.
Yep. So whenever we get into their racial abilities and how they are on the table, they are very militaristic kind of race, which kind of control and order. I guess you would say they're pretty much fascist, space fascist. They're not super well liked, but on the table, they have 2 more fleet size than their fleet pool, so they can muster some of the largest nasty fleets in the Imperium. And also, they have another ability to where you can pay 2 trade goods prior to a round of combat, and you get to reroll as many dice as you want. And I remember I was playing against another player, Bob, and I came into a fight loaded down with my pockets full of trade goods. And there's some other units that whenever they sustain damage, they can give you trade goods. So I was infinitely just like, yes, I get all the rerolls. And that is a game where I just rolled through the center of space and just deleted who was in front of me and won. They have really good destroyers, and yeah, they're an oppressive military force. I believe that's all I have to say about Barony of Letnev.
I mean, I think Barony is such a great choice of. I felt like I understood who they were just by Barony.
Pretty much sums it up, doesn't it, Lindsay?
Yeah. I was like, okay.
I'm going to call it a couple more. We're not going to cover them in details, just in general, like what they do in the game, what makes them interesting, what makes them powerful. Pat's covered the space turtles. There's also the Lizette Minet. So if you want to have very scary destroyers and have basically androids run around, there's that. There's the necrovirus that are basically from the Matrix, fly around and eat you up and get your tech. And last but not least, at least for me, you can play the plant people, and you can basically have your ground forces grow other things. So you can have a troop grow like a Star Destroyer.
Oh, and I want to throw out 2 more. The Sardic Nor, they're former slaves, and their big shtick is that their their spaceport can move around. I call it their trailer park. So they basically cruise around the galaxy in their trailer park, and they just make more shit.
That's the next. Actually, forget the space bugs. I'm gonna play those guys next, Pat. Remind me next time we play.
Yeah, they call it the SAR Death Ball because there's kind of an action economy where you can move and produce at the same time. So they kind of just, it's kind of a snowball effect almost. They just get bigger and draw more people in and just cruise around the galaxy in their RV.
Or you play the Yin Brotherhood and you just slam their flagship into that system and kill everything. Because when that thing dies, it takes out everything.
Yep. The kamikaze flagship. I will one day do that to somebody.
Sold. Yeah, that's oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
And while we haven't covered them, the soul, the humans, they're very good. Like, there's no denying it. It's like a lot of people say about a lot of other games. Oh, the humans are really great. It's like, yes, the humans are very good in this game. They have some of the best ground forces. They get to fart a whole bunch of them out. They have a massive action economy. You're not guaranteed to win if you play as the humans, but you have a good advantage.
Yeah, and I would, for anybody that's like brain hammer new to Twilight Imperium, I would kind of recommend the humans because, as X was stating, the action economy, they get more action tokens than others, and something you can do as a new player, you can really spread yourself thin in the first game round. And then, come second or game round, it's like, oh, I overextended. So they kind of help prevent that in a ways.
Okay, moving on. Oh, sorry, Brian, go.
It's okay. I do want to shout out the Universities of Joel Nar. I think that's going to be the next one I would like to try.
No.
Zach, do you want to say why no? I mean, this is for our play group and what
I have to know why.
Before the expansion, the university had a 75% win rate because they have so much tech. They get a bonus for taking tech, and at the low cost of getting a -1 to all their dice. They're so easy to win with.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the first time I played TI, I played University of Jolnar, got in a fight with literally nobody, did nothing, didn't know what I was doing, and I won.
I love that.
Dang.
I just wanted to goad Zach a little bit with that one.
Oh, we know.
Moving on to the next topic, these are going to be a couple quick ones. Action cards. The game is full of a whole deck of action cards. Some of them are pretty basic, like, hey, you get a +1 in combat this round or this roll. But some of them are incredibly powerful. One of them is, hey, when you go to turn in your strategy card, don't. Keep it for a whole nother round. No one gets to pick it. Another one is, hey, you're going to go spend your strategy card this turn? No, your turn ends immediately. You wanted to do tech without me? Stop.
And we can't forget sabotage.
Yep. Just counter someone else's card.
Yeah, it's a blue counterspell for those that play Magic. And another one that has made people cry is direct hit.
I got hit, now I blow up. Boop, boop.
Pew pew.
Goodbye, War Sun.
Or during the agenda phase, like laws come into play, and you can elect players like, hey, you're going to be like the diplomat of peace, or you get like a bonus to tech. And you can just play confusing rules text, and it gets assigned to you instead.
Ooh.
Use your legalese.
And basically, action cards in TI are the gotcha cards, and again, I'm going to reference Magic. They're the blue cards.
Yep, you could like, hey, I'm not going to vote on this political thing, but if it goes my way, I get a free victory point, and then you have everyone like, so if this passes, we got to blow up half our stuff, yeah. But if it fails, he gets a victory point. Like, God, blow up half our stuff. Because like the agendas are laws, so you pass new rules in the game.
Yep. Every technology you research, you have to blow up a ship. Not a fun law.
Yeah, that sounds pretty mean.
Next quick topic, I'm going to cover tech. I personally think the tech deck should be reworked. I pretty much never want a single yellow tech, and I barely ever look at the red ones. It's just blue and occasionally green for me. How about you guys? I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I'm going to say it all very much depends on what faction you're going for, because with most of the factions, your faction-specific tech are usually always great to get with your faction, and you got to chase those prerequisites. Zach, do you want to talk about two of the colors of tech, and I'll talk about the other two colors of the tech real quick?
I guess I'll do blue and green. Those are the ones I know the most.
All right.
So, Lindsay, just as a reference, every player gets a tech deck in their color. So you get a whole stack of cards in your color. If you're playing black, you get black. And the techs themselves come in 4 colors: yellow, green, blue, and red. There's also tech for each unit, so you can improve all your units. And then your faction gets 2 tech. So you get a lot of options.
Okay.
And then how the tech works is, if it's a base tech, you just have to take the technology roll or start with it, and you just have it. And then as you get more in one color, you can build on it and get better versions of tech. So this one requires 2 green. Okay, I can get more tech there. And then unit techs might require a variety of colors. The War Sun's hard to get because you need 2 yellow and 2 red, or at least 2 yellow and 1 red. It's a lot.
Okay.
Yellow is primarily just about saving money. Whenever you build, you get a discount, or hey, your space stocks build +1 more. There's a variety of them. I'm not gonna claim every single one.
Yeah, I would say yellow is utility and defenses.
And then green is kind of either you're gonna get stuff about your ground forces, or you get stuff about your own economy. Like you get more action tokens back instead of what everyone else gets. You get to draw more action cards. I know I switched that up on you, Pat. But
yeah, I was about to say, you got other colors on me, buddy. But yeah, so red is typically geared to the war techs. Usually, initial starting one's plasma scoring, where your PDS get an extra shot. But yeah, red is everything aggressive like that.
Weapons and stuff.
Yeah, and then blue is all about maneuverability.
which is why blue is the best.
Yeah, blue. Well, in his opinion, but it's high up there. It's high up there. A lot of the starting one for blue is anti-mass deflectors, which allow you to go into asteroid fields, which normally you can't drive into because, hey, guess what? You'll blow up. But other things in blue is, propulsion, going further. And there is dark energy tap, which allows you to explore special areas within the universe. So exploration, speed, mobility is blue.
Cool.
Yep. And tech's important. It's probably like when someone takes the tech roll, everyone at the table spends a good 7 minutes looking at all their options.
Yeah, and the technology strategy card is, I know we've gone past that point as far as strategy cards, but there are a handful that get picked all the time, and tech is one of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because if you take it, you can possibly make 2 tech versus everyone just making 1.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Lindsay, this is where I screwed up in the last game. Is I did too much exploring, and I just didn't care about tech at all. I was looking for the cool little artifacts in space.
I mean, I understand that too.
So, Ian, it sounds like if you want to go space exploring again, there's this faction called the Rishaka Alliance. It's basically these mercenary cats. Do you remember Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Master Blaster?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's that, but with cats and a little pygmy baby.
And a mech.
What?
And a mech, yeah. But they're all about exploring space. That's what they love to do, and they get it's easier for them to do it, and they get extra benefits for doing it. So
cool, because that's what I like to do when I'm playing TI.
Yeah,
That sounds like you. Yeah.
Be Master Blaster.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked about Mechatol Rex and the fact that it's the center of the universe. We've also failed to mention that the first person to get there and using influence land people there, you basically land diplomats there, you get a permanent victory point. And once you do that, you unlock the government for the rest of the game, which is where the agenda phase comes from.
Which some people, such as the Turtles, they really care about the government and they want that to happen. So, it might be an early game goal for them.
And we've somewhat mentioned it. The agenda phase, how it works is basically 2 cards get pulled each round, and they tend to be laws. It is a permanent effect. You're all voting on hey, you can't use wormholes, or hey, you can use wormholes interchangeably, or hey, everyone has to blow up a number of ground forces, or hey, everyone gets additional ground forces, or hey, this one player gets a victory point. That is stuff that can be voted on. So a lot of wheeling, dealing, a lot of politicking.
One thing I will say about agendas, and me and Zach talked at length about it before, we think maybe it can be fine-tuned because there are many agendas that come up that most of the tables like shrug, I don't care about this, versus ones that come up where everyone's like, oh man, this has got to happen. So that's why we believe that it's kind of like more of a sleeper kind of phase where it's like, yeah, it's important, but if it's backbreaking,
there can be some real nothing burgers in there.
Yeah.
And the one like Brian mentions, like, oh, whenever you make a tech, you blow up a ship. It's like it means tech is dangerous because people tend to build like a handful of ships, but you don't want to blow up like 2 or 3 of them.
No, especially when you're trying to get a secret objective that says have 6 flying ships, have a flying ship in 6 systems. So it's like really made things tough. Because
that's rough, buddy.
I needed the tech to upgrade something to do something else. I don't remember what it was.
I think by the end of that particular game, I was playing the Arborec, the hive mind plants, and I was blowing up ships left and right because I needed tech. And by the end of the game, all I had was like plants on worlds, but no space fleet really to speak of. So that was goofy.
And then from that, we're going to move on how to win the game. Traditionally, it's played to 10. There's an option for 14. Some people say 12. There's a good argument either way. How the game is won is every round there's 2 minimum objectives that are public. Everyone gets to see them. Every player is dealt 2 secret objectives and get to keep 1. You can have 3 total. And then all the other remaining points you have to find. Like you either have to find the Mechatol point, you get a relic that has a point, or you have to wait for one new one to come out at the end of each round, and you can't even score that one until the next round, which is what makes 8 so valuable. And some standard objectives might be have 2 techs of 2 colors, so 2 yellows, 2 reds, or have 2 upgraded units, or have 1 of each color or 2 of each color. And for the most part, they're usually either 1 or 2 points, and you usually don't see the 2.1s till the end of the game. Did I misconstrue any of those?
Nope, that sounded like how I acquired points very early in the game. Last game.
Yep. You had a strong start there, Brian, for sure.
Just can't finish.
And then in terms of like a pro tip, every move you make on the board is either getting you towards a point or a second point. That's how you have to make every move like that.
Which is why I go back to that earlier point of, hey, I can't see the objectives over here, and a lot of the things I do need to gear towards getting those objectives. So, take a picture of the objectives or write them down, whatever it is you got to do, so you can have those kind of sitting in front of you, so you can be like, okay, how do I complete this objective? Okay, well, I need to do this and that and this,
Or, as Pat pointed out, hey, Zach, you had that random spaceship over there. It already scored me a point. I don't give a shit about it anymore.
Yeah, that crew's sitting in the dead of space. Like, what do we do now? They call into, the home system, Zach, and he's like, who are you? Yeah, no, I don't really care what you do.
Yeah, I already cashed the life insurance on your whole family. So
like, boss, like, why are we out here? I don't know, man. Like, I don't care. Can we come home? No, I didn't put enough gas in your starship for that. You're abandoned out there.
It's a one-way trip.
But the space bards will sing about your glories till the end of the days.
Oh yeah, you'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, while Zach's kicking his feet up on the throne in Mechatol, like, I feel like I'm forgetting something, and then there they are, just floating in the cold space.
Oh, not my problem. The only other part is like if you have a choice between, because at the end of each round you can only score 1 secret and 1 public. So even if you have like achieved multiple, always score the one that's harder, like the one you might not get. Like the tech one, sandbag that. You're not the. There's only like an agenda that makes you lose tech, and it's rare. So if you have the tech ones, done, but there's a harder one. Like, be in 4 systems, score that. The tech one will be there the next go around. Yeah, always try to score the more difficult one. That's like some of the best advice I can give you. Like, hey, this requires me to be in multiple weird spaces. Score that first.
All right. Well, do we have any closing remarks from Ian or Lindsay or Brian or anybody want to talk about how they feel or if they're excited to play?
Oh no, I'm definitely up to play another game. I hate I couldn't play the last time, but yeah, I definitely can't wait to play again. And I want to be the explorer race doing it.
I can't wait to be a shadow broker.
I'm just going to be a bug throwing rocks at you.
Straight from Clendathu, here comes Zach.
I won't even like bring the rock. I'll just tell I'm bringing the rock. Then all my fleet shows up. Where's the rocks? Oh yeah, I lied about those.
Yeah. I don't know. I too, like Lindsay, am excited to play the Nomad next. But also, as I've gone and learned about, all these different factions and races and, done my deep dive and nerding around, I've come to find out that a lot of them are attractive and fun to play to me. Like, I could be happy trying any new one, really, for instance. But yeah, that being said, definitely the Nomad's up there for me.
I definitely want to ask you more about the books too later on, if you have any recommendations of any ones that you know in particular that are good.
Well, I'm just delving because right now I found 4 of them. Let me pull them up so I could. The first one, I think this is the order. The first one is called The Fractured Void. It's by Tim Pratt. And there is a dramatized version if you're kind of looking that for that from Audible. As far as the author is concerned, it seems like they're a young author. They, I don't know what else they have under their belt, but it is definitely fun, space romp, enjoyable, and it's for me. I wanted a different viewpoint other than the back of these character sheets that we have for information into the Twilight universe.
It just sounds fun.
Which we didn't mention there, Zach, the back of these character sheets, because on the front side, as far as like player aids go for this game, you have all your units and your faction abilities and all the meat of what you really need to see. But on the back side, there's a whole page printout of the fluff and the lore of the Scouts.
You get like 4 or 5 paragraphs, of like, this is what I am.
Rad.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot to chew on, and whenever you're playing the game, we're all playing, make-believe games, like be it Shadows of Camelot, and we're playing Knights or whatever. It's always good to get in that kind of headspace or just RP a little bit with them.
Well, I would say that that's one of the advantages of TI is like, yeah, there's a lot of tiny rules, but the game is very fluid in terms of like, no, you're taking very simple actions. But yeah, role play your race. Like, have fun doing it. Like, I was over there conniving as like those space goblins. I backstab people all the time that whole game. But
and that's what they're about. And a lot of these powers translate really well to what the fluff says about these characters.
I could just imagine you as space goblins over there, Zach.
Oh yeah, I went to everyone halfway through the games like, give me a card or you're discarding half your hand. What? I have all the information, my spies.
Yep.
Yes. He had a secret spy network, and
yes, he did.
everybody ignored him, and it worked out greatly for him. So
it did. Yep.
There is no war in the galaxy of Ba Sing Se.
Well, I know who I'm going to be next time, or who I want to be. I think I want to be the council.
The new guys.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about them there, Brian? Because I have read nothing on them. I've just seen a picture.
All I know is that they pick 3 different races and they get one of the home systems. That's the one I know for a fact.
Yeah, you get to choose an unplayed faction from among the Mentak, the Turtles, the Flight, and you get to take that faction's home system, command tokens, and control markers. So, and then you get to replenish commodities at the start of the strategy phase to get in. Then you gain 1 trade good, and anybody that's in a hex adjacent to Mechatol Rex, or no, sorry, that's not it. I thought there was maybe that was one of the other ones. I don't know. I feel like I just want to try the new one because, yeah. I'm also excited to see everybody tomorrow at Cape Fear Games and Sideboard. Shout out to them for being awesome and hosting our marathon games.
Absolutely. Love those guys.
They got a new chicken salad sandwich that looks real good.
I can't wait to try it. I'm so
sold.
excited.
That's it. That's the one. That's it.
That's it. We know.
So how do we feel for...
I was going to say sci-fi and chicken salad sandwiches. That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
I think next week we're going to cover Castle Ember and White Plume Mountain, 2 D&D Funhouse dungeons. We can find out about the super tetanus.
Oh, yay.
Oh, boy.
I love super tetanus.
It's like deadly. Isn't normal tetanus? It's super deadly.
Super.
And if you made it to this part of the podcast, we'd like to thank you and appreciate your viewership. And we hope to see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone out there.
Thanks,
great,
guys.
great. Thank you to all your listeners, and I hope you have a great evening or a great day, depending on when you're listening.
Cheers.
Bye.